Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of the second official podcast or conversation with Alexandria&Co. Co standing for community, compassion, conversation, confidence, and a dash of conflict, if that's what you want. And I think this might be the little dash of conflict we were talking about. So last week, I know you heard me come to you, and I was so excited to kind of launch my video and launch my project and just kind of very stoked. I was so happy, and I still am. But this is where it gets a little bit tricky. I'm going to be super transparent with you all. I called my brothers, and I have done a lot of healing, physically, emotionally. Well, actually, I'm very healthy. I got all my blood work. I'm 100% healthy, like 100%. Love that. Blood work is great. You know, I have my mobility. I am, as a 36-year-old woman who is not, I'm not skinny, and some people have a naturally, they're just, some people have different body compositions, which that's not something I even care to talk about with anyone, because that's my business. And I don't think people should talk about their bodies online unless it's come from a healed state. I don't think people should open that conversation up with anyone. And I don't let people open up that conversation with me, because how someone, their frame is not the end all be all of health. It's not. I know so many people who are like 130 pounds and they're very unhealthy. They have autoimmune diseases. They're struggling. So that conversation about health and weight, that conversation, I might do a series on that. That's later. But right now, I am going to introduce you to another part of Alexandria&Co. And it's called Alexandria&No. And I wrote it down because it was so pivotal for me to express this. Alexandria&No is Alexandria and not a part of my community, not compassionate, no conversation, because I have no confidence that anything is going to change. Instead of it being a dash of conflict, like a dash, I'll be cooking. It's just a whole dose, several doses of conflict. No community, no compassion, no conversation, just conflict, and no confidence in each other or trust or just that you're a part of our community. So that is today's conversation. Alexandria&No. Alexandria&Hell no. I am no longer allowing people to treat me a certain way. And if you know me, you know that one of the most harmful and hurtful aspects of who I am is my family. And after, it was Monday, and I remember calling Jeanette. Thank you so much, Jeanette. And I was bawling, crying, because I just didn't know what I needed to do to be validated, or for someone to tell me something without yelling at me and yelling. Like, I moved to Colombia without your help, financial help. I've not gotten any financial help from my family in over 10 years, like literally. So I really don't understand where all this bravado comes from, because you're not even paying for nothing. Definitely no emotional help. If I can have a seizure, almost 5-minute seizure. When I say 5-minute seizure, I really want you all to understand the science behind that. If you go without oxygen to your brain for over, let's say 3 to 4 minutes, you could be brain dead. The fact that I got up off that floor, my head hit the ground, in front of almost 100 people. And I was in another country. And for me to be in the hospital for 2 days, and my family not called, not one of them. My mom actually left her phone home the next day. I'm in the hospital. I'm doing CAT scans, MRIs, everything. And the people at work are coming to sit with me in the hospital. And you know what they're asking me? Why didn't you? They're like sleeping there with me. And they're like, why isn't your family calling? You know how embarrassing that is? And I've been seeing this meme that says, you know, you come to a part in life because when you realize that people know exactly what they're doing. And I prayed to God because I was like, God, I've always tried to protect, like, and not give too much information because, you know, I'm not interested in shaming anybody. I'm not interested in putting anybody out there. I'm not interested in doing that. I always want to be very intentional with my words because I do have the power of words. I'm a wordsmith. And so my quick wit with words and my ability to hit back is because I've had to do it with my family. I had to turn my words into weaponry. I weaponize my words, and I think that a lot of you have seen when I get to a point where I'm just like, I have such strong boundaries with everybody else outside with everyone, which is why I'm able to be like, nope, bye, boom. But I've never had boundaries when the call was coming from inside the house. The call was coming from inside the house. Those boundaries that I had that were so strong with everyone else in the world is because of the boundaries that I did not have with my family. So my family, I don't think, and many of you have had to console me after I have not ever gotten really off the phone with any of my family without crying. And usually if you talk to me on the phone, I get off the phone laughing with everyone. I leave every conversation laughing. I'm deeply funny. I'm like always laughing. I'm always joking. That's who I am. I don't even joke with them. They don't even know how funny I am. They don't. They don't know any of the special talents that I have. Some of you all know that I can dance, that I'm super funny, that I have all this charisma, but when I get with my family, I shrink. Why is this important? This is not to actually put my family out there. This is actually to highlight when enough is enough. And that is what Alexandria&Co. When you build a community so strong, you can walk away from things that don't serve you. You can walk away from a job. You can walk away from abusive children. You can walk away from an abusive family dynamic that also includes husbands, so I guess that's divorce. You can walk away from anything that does not serve you. You can even walk away from your own self-sabotaging habits. Which leads me to the point that I want to say. I have never gotten emotional support, and I don't know why I kept going back to a place that did not serve me. And of course it's scary, but you know what? Once I got off the phone with Jeanette was like, you know, you got something to do. You started it. You got to go. You got to do. And they have repeatedly shown you who they are because Jeanette has seen, she's seen, you know, like, because usually I have to be consoled after I take myself back into an environment that just doesn't serve me. And that's not fair to my community because they're the ones that have to hear the tears and everything else like that. And they, you know, and I was just like, okay, so I get it. You all keep telling me to heal. You know, I'm in therapy. And my therapist is so awesome. I'm in therapy. My therapist is a part of my community. I've went out into the world. I'm degreed up. Great schools. University of Florida, 2 degrees. Teach for America. Johns Hopkins. Egypt, Mexico, Atlanta, Miami, Gainesville, and everywhere else around the world, which is why I have a global wellness brand. Global, not really just in living, just in my impact. I'm not gonna ever. I'm going to stop. I'm not sleeping on what I bring to the table anymore, and I'm not sleeping on what you don't bring to the table anymore. I am a deeply compassionate person. I'm a teacher. Like, you think I've been 15 years in the game without having compassion at my students and my families that I, have served, have been of service to, I'm still in great contact with? Like, you think I'm just out here just playing? No. How is it that I can go out into the world? Most people can't even, the world is cruel. I don't find the world to be cruel. I find my own family to be how most people look at the world. I look at my family as that. So when I came back from Mexico, and they don't even know the contents of what happened with that, that in itself was actually a miraculous situation. And I walked away a winner of a chicken dinner. Good chicken. And if you know what went down, shout outs to Trina for being there. Trina's a part of my community. Then you know that I walked away a winner, and I fought a whole entire institution and was able to actually come out on top. And all I did was know my rights. So I asked God about if I should even record this, and God told me, he's like, why not? You're not special. There is somebody that's going through this that needs to hear this, that doesn't have the words and probably can't process in the critical thinking that you have. Everyone has a gift. This is my gift. And I'm not trying to air anyone out. I wish them well. And I say that with full bravado, because that's a very nice way of saying, fuck a duck and chew a screw. I love me so much that I know what happens when you allow for trauma to get trapped, because I'm taking all of that in. If you understand that science of it, and that's what leads to autoimmune diseases. That's why I mentioned health earlier. That's what leads to hair loss. I lost all my hair going through my dogs and my grandma's. My grandmother, God rest both of their souls, they died 7 months from each other in 2022. And I took care of my dog. At that point, I had a torn meniscus. I'm living in Egypt, and I'm driving to work. If you drove in Egypt, you didn't even got to drive. I drove like an hour and a half. I was in 5 o'clock traffic at driving from work when I got the call from I hired a nanny for my dog. When I got the call that my dog, the cancer had spread to her heart. I don't think you even can imagine how much strength it took to drive to the nanny's home, to grab my dog and say, I'm taking her home with me. Like, I need to be with her, and I'm so sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry about that. Was February 10th, and shouts out to Portia for being there for me. She's, as we call each other, sisters. She helped me through that. And then 7 months later, my grandmother passed. And if you know me, I had a really great relationship with my grandmother. And my grandmother and my dog were actually really great. They were best friends. And I took care of my grandmother for 7 weeks during that summer. So imagine February dealing with 2 rounds of like surgeries and seeing your little 10-pound dog's body cut up. She's a Shih Tzu. And then working. I went to work that day. Shouts out to my students in Egypt. They're in 9th grade. Congratulations, guys. I really love you all. And congratulations. And thank you so much for that very terrible day, February 10th, 2022, that you all were my community. And I couldn't stay home. I had to be around my kids. I had to be around them, and they were kind for once to each other. They were gonna be kind with me. And I remember Safe is a very strong-willed. He has a very strong personality, and he was. I could just his eyes and he was soft. That I could it. I looked and he just had this look of I'm so sorry. Like he did he was kind, and he's a very great guy. He's a very great young man. Great job, Safe. Congratulations on going to ninth grade. But nothing can really break Safe, and nothing. Not to say that he was broke. I felt his compassion from his eyes. He doesn't show emotion that often, and he didn't show emotion today. It just showed through his eyes. And so, after that, I said, there cannot be any gray area when it comes to respect. It's Alexandria&Co or Alexandria&No. I wish anyone who's not a part of my community the very best life. But it's Alexandria&Co and Alexandria&No Access. You don't have access to my life. That chapter's done. And I'm so great. So many doors has opened up in this past week. And I'm still processing it, because as soon as I made that decision to do what I had to do to make sure that I protected myself, which meant, making sure that people did not have access to me via social media, via the telephone, via any of it. God immediately clicked me and said, now I can do the work. Now you have finally graduated to the chapter that I want you to. God told me, I have made a way for you every single time. They haven't. And you kept going back to people who caused you to self-sabotage. And now I could do the work. Now those blessings can overflow. Now you get to do your victory lap. I couldn't do my victory lap because even though, and everyone says, family, 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 even in the many times, those conversations, some people would say, well, or make excuses, which I'm gonna tell you something. Like, I'm not having that conversation anymore about family. Like, that's over. But if you are someone who even remotely thinks that that's a conversation that you're gonna have with me, you're gonna be a part of the Alexandria&No Access too. I'm dead set on that. My boundaries are strong, even when it comes to, no, we're not doing those relationships no more, and I hope you're not doing them either. So Alexandria&Co does start with conversations, but just strengthening my brand and really figuring it out. You can't really make any changes in life until you figure out, or you can't really, you can't make changes in life. That's not what I was going to say. I started Alexandria&Co, and it was my project, it was my vision, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are like, well, what is it? What is it? I have started over so many times, and I've always landed well. And I know people are asking me, how do you do it? And that's where it comes in, and that's where I really begin to understand, well, what am I trying to offer people? Strategic coaching. I actually have some clients now where I've given the game so much for free. Now it is coaching. It is coaching, strategic coaching. This is going wrong in my life, whether it is at a job, whether it's with family, whether it's with your health and everything like that. And I have a team, and I have a community of people and connections and relationships and a community of people that can help. I mean, when it comes to lawyers, doctors, I don't know, like Trina, I was a parqueyeras. I didn't even know about parqueyeras. I just moved here, and Trina's Trina's lived here before. There's not almost any place in the world that I can not go to, because I formed those relationships. So, I know what I bring to the table. And all I ask is that anybody that wants to be a part of my community, and if you want anybody to be your part of a healthy community, because people have a lot of unhealthy communities. That's them. I'm not diagnosing anyone, and I'm not trying to figure out, do a field research on anybody else's community. I know for mine, we have compassion, we have confidence, we have conversations, and we may have a little bit of dash of conflict or discourse where things differ. I don't want to be a part of any cult where everybody thinks alike. I'm the dash of conflict is the difference in thinking. That's it. But there is something in my community that is paramount, and that is respect. And so I'm going to end there. And this is Alexandria&Co logging off. Co standing for community, conversation, compassion, confidence, and a dash, just a pinch, just a small of conflict if it needs to be. And then you all were introduced to the other community, Alexandria&No Access. You're not getting in. So I hope that helps someone. I plan to expand upon this, not from the angle of my family, because I'm not trying to say anything that is disrespectful to my family. I love my family, but my family is not my community. And I love the idea that I'm able to see that now. Now the blessings can flow. Y'all see that? I see that light. God is literally shining on me. And I'm pretty sure people are like, well, how could she say that and be so okay with it? Because I've been hurt so much that now I get to feel good all the time. And there's not a conversation that I can have. Again, after that last one, after I made that final decision where I'm going to leave crying, I just don't let people treat me like that anymore. And granted, I don't have a lot of people doing it. You know, I usually just leave everything else. I just externalize my boundaries with everyone else and I didn't know. I was unconscious that the call was coming from inside the house. It can come from inside the house because I've got no support. I've curated the life that I want to live. And I've slowly edged them out. And I guess in this moment, I realized that, or they edged themselves out. It's not about money, which, you know, I don't ask them for anything. It's not about help or advice. It's just kind words. If you weren't able to give me that, I don't need it anymore because I'm giving it to myself. This is Alexandria&Co. Have a great one and be kind to yourself.